Hi, I'm Mariah Belgrod. I'm a pop recording artist here in Seattle, Washington, and you're watching Eclectic Arts.
All right, so we're here on a Saturday morning. It's kind of misting. It's been pretty wet this week here in Washington State. And Mariah, thank you so much for taking the time to do the interview today.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad we can make this work, Mark.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
It has been, but that's okay.
But we got our schedules
We're here
together.
now.
Yeah, so it's all good. And so for those folks that aren't familiar with you, in kind of a nutshell, what can you talk about in terms of your background and what you do as a musician?
Well, I am a pop recording artist here in Seattle, but I originally was born and raised in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. It's a really, really tiny farm town, and there's a large Amish community there actually, where there's horse and carriages and people don't use electricity, so it was a really diverse and unique place to grow up. But 2 years ago I moved out to Seattle, and I found myself as a pop artist, whereas back in Pennsylvania I was more into the musical theater things. And delving into the pop world was a complete 180 for me, but it was really exciting, and the Seattle community was really welcoming towards me. I like to create music and showcase music to the world that is empowering and uplifting and positive and just makes people feel good and strong after listening to it, and makes them feel something, because in the pop world it might have a stereotype that it's just la-di-da, bubblegum, but I like to afterwards have someone think oh yeah, this has moved me or changed me in some way.
Okay, that's awesome. And when you mentioned that when you were starting out, you're more in the musical theater world versus when you moved out here and you're doing more pop music. Are you formally trained as a singer or a songwriter? Both? None of the above?
As a singer, more so. In Pennsylvania, I had great access to New York City, so I worked with a manager in New York, and I did vocal training, dance, acting classes. I did all of that to strengthen myself as a triple threat from the age of 7 to the age of close to 15. So I started very young, and musical theater and acting and singing were always a large part of my life. And it really impacted me as a person and an artist. I had to grow up really quickly. I was constantly around adults, but I think it really shaped my perspective and my identity as a musician, and has helped me connect with people nowadays. But musical theater is absolutely amazing, and I found my love for the stage and being able to express myself to different people and having them reciprocate that energy is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah.
With me covering a lot of musical theater and things here in town, I kind of noticed that when I saw you perform. So for some people, they're maybe a great singer, musician, both, but then when they get on the stage, it's a whole different ball of wax for them.
Yeah.
But you're completely comfortable in front of people,
Thank you.
engaging them, and that's what kind of clicked with me, that you've got some sort of training in your background
Yeah.
somewhere. So that's nice to actually officially hear that you do have that and how that goes. And I know, so when you've been out here in Seattle and you've been working with the local community, and also you've been doing some shows, not just here in Washington, but also down the West Coast and just kind of everywhere else.
Yeah.
What do you kind of look for when it comes to trying to perform and book your gigs? So
Yeah.
are you really methodical about it, or is it kind of I'm just trying to get out there and then get methodical? People kind of have different approaches to it.
Yeah, especially being friends with some people in the Seattle community. In this area, it's been really easy to find gigs, because I look at where a lot of my friends are similar type artists who have music that they feel is well reciprocated from a different venue. Because on my gigs, I do original songs as well as I do pop covers, and not everyone wants to hear that. So everyone has a different listening style and type of music. So it's been an adventure looking for gigs and experimenting with new places that don't usually listen to my type of music, and then having that still be well reciprocated is amazing. And then also going to places like the one I can think of off the top of my head that we frequent the most, my accompaniment Jeffrey and I, is the Paragon. And we have gone there several times, and we just want to keep coming back because they have a really great crowd. The energy is really great. And it's all about the ambience and how people treat their artists. There's a lot of different factors that I think people don't realize when selecting a gig, but I mainly look for like the ambience and how they treat their artists and just the energy in the crowd that they bring in.
It makes perfect sense, because
Yeah.
I know with my own music background, sometimes when we've played places, we may have gotten a good reaction, but for us, meaning my singer and I, we were not maybe quite feeling that place.
Yeah.
So we're kind of trying to figure out, well, do we go back there because the reaction was good and there's a lot of people,
Yeah.
or do we go to maybe a place that maybe is more of a moderate audience, but then we felt a lot better, and maybe the
Exactly.
owners treated us really well, and that kind
Yeah.
of thing, and you have to balance it.
Exactly. It is a difficult balancing act, but I think it's always good if you get that vibe to just go back a second time, because it could be a completely different crowd too. You just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so speak a little bit about some of the original songs that you have, and also maybe some future songs that your fans are going to be hearing down the
Yeah.
road. What's that process like for coming up with songs?
So the first two singles that I have released are Empty Spaces and Lie to Me, and those were both written by a really talented producer and songwriter, Alyssa Wenzel. She's someone who has very similar ideals as me in the being a woman in the music industry and being empowered as a woman in the music industry. So she wrote those first two songs, which I really connected with. Empty Spaces is about being in some sort of toxic relationship or friendship and leaving that behind and feeling empowered and just saying you're going to find me in your empty spaces and here's to me, I'm done. So those lyrics really resonated with me, and I felt like I had to get my voice on that song. And Lie to Me is also a great song I connect to. So those were awesome releases to put out into the world. And then I also have a couple songs with Alyssa that are going to be put out in the upcoming months. But then also I've been getting into my own songwriting, which has been super intimidating for me to get into. I felt as if every good song had to be written by now, or every good lyric has already been put on paper. But then I started my own writing process over the last few months and found that that's not true, and that I have worthy things to say to the world. So I'm really excited to put those all collectively together and release them out in the next coming months. So we'll see.
All right, that's exciting.
Yeah.
How do you tend to write your own songs? Do you sit at a keyboard with a guitar with somebody else? What's kind of the combination?
So my brain doesn't stop. I have anxiety and it just is constantly going. So I found it's very weird, but before I go to sleep, that's when my brain is just like at peace and it's not thinking, and I'm just like letting go of the day. And that's kind of when like melodies start coming to me. And sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night, and I sleep with my phone next to me now, and I'll have my voice memo app just ready to go. And I'll wake up and I'm like, wait, is that a song? I'm like, now it is. And I'll start recording whatever comes to mind. So that's my process, is to find myself in a spontaneous moment where I'm not thinking about other things, because then I overthink, and then I think it's sounding too much like someone else. So I found a good method, and I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, no, whatever it takes to get your creative artistry out.
Yeah.
And I know, being an artist myself,
Yeah.
that sometimes it happens at the most inopportune times
Right.
of the day or night.
Yeah.
But then you want to capture it, because then if you wake up in the morning, you're like,
It's gone.
what was that? It went like this,
Exactly.
didn't it? No, it didn't. It went this, and then you're frustrated.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Definitely have those moments.
I think everybody, because I still have an old notebook next to my bed for writing ideas.
Oh.
So.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because I kind of learned over the years that sometimes if I try to trust myself to remember, especially as old as I'm getting, then that's not a good plan, Mark. Have something you can physically put
Yeah.
it down into, or like you're saying, use a phone, and that way at least you have it, and then you can go back to resting or whatever you're doing, and then you just have a bank of them.
Yeah. And you wake up in the morning, you're like, when did I do that? Sometimes.
Yeah, I've looked back at, I also have like demo tapes, this is how old these things are, actual cassettes, where I have guitar riffs. So I'll go back and listen to stuff, and I'm like, what is that? And when did I do that? It's like,
Yeah.
that's kind of cool.
You can still get inspired and use those things if you're continuing writing and everything. Like, it's not like they have to just sit there forever.
Yeah, they don't really age. So as long
Exactly.
as long as you find them,
Yeah.
again,
Keep them in a safe space.
yeah, then you're good. We were talking earlier about when you perform that you're very comfortable on stage, or seemingly so with people. What's kind of I shouldn't say one of the gigs, but are there certain gigs that have stood out in your mind over the years, either from Pennsylvania or from here, just for any reason? Like, what kind of comes to mind?
Okay, so this is the first time I performed with a live band, and it was a jazz band. It was the Hershey Band in Hershey, Pennsylvania. There's like a jazz band that they put together, and I was their vocalist. and they were doing a cultivation of different jazz songs and pop songs and cover songs. But it was at a charity event, and there were hundreds of people. But I just remember singing "At Last" by Etta James, and seeing, like, it's bringing tears to my eyes thinking about it, and seeing these people, like couples, come together and just start like swaying to me singing. It was so powerful to me. Like, I can move people to feel a moment. So that moment for me was like, dang, I can do this. It was very impactful for me.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
when you kind of know that all the white noise on the outside just goes away when you have that moment with an audience.
Exactly. And having a full band with every sort of instrument you can imagine was like, and just hearing that behind me, I felt so strong and like empowered.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. If you had to pick between writing songs / recording them in a studio versus performing live, which would you pick?
That's an interesting question. I think I would go with performing, because I can be a perfectionist, and being in a studio, sometimes you can get yourself like, it has to be perfect before it's released, but performing, it's one and done. And that's why I like using the Smule app. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that, but using the Smule app, it's just like, I record, I'm one and done, and that's it. It's out to the world, and my imperfections are my perfections, and people don't want to see a robot or someone that's pitch perfect every time. They want to see that character and that energy. That's more important to me as an artist.
Okay. And since you brought up Smule, which I know is a big part of your background
it's
and your probably current situation, I think I told you back at the show in the summertime that I knew nothing about it. So I've only learned about it
Through me?
through you.
Great.
So if that helps you with endorsements or anything else. So when you get a chance to, so people can basically sing with you from anywhere around the world.
Yeah.
And at this point, since you're very well known, and kind of the face in some ways, or one of the faces of Smule, do you have like a queue of people just wanting to book time with you, or how does that work in terms of what your current schedule's like, and when you start singing with people?
It's been really fun actually having people connect with me via Smule, and then they follow me on Instagram, and then when they're in Seattle, I've had a couple people from Smule that live in various parts of the country and or world, and they message me like, hey, I'm in Seattle this week, like, are you doing any shows that I can come out to? And I've had people come to shows. And connecting with them. Smule now has a feature where you can do like live jams. So before, you would pre-record a song, like half of a song, and someone else could come and join that for a week and make it their own. But now you can sing with someone live, which is very innovative, and I feel like it's the first of its kind to have like real-time singing with other artists. So that's been really fun to just get to meet people, and when I hop on a live jam, my room will fill up and people will be in the comments, and people get in a wait list to join to sing with me.
Okay.
So it's just really fun to watch people that they've been singing with you in recordings, but now they get to sing with you live.
Right.
Like at a show.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it kind of sounds like, again, I'm completely dating myself, but going back to when like chat rooms first came up in the 90s, that sometimes if you start talking to people from around the world, that if you really got to know them, they actually would do like annual meetups where they would actually go, like, say, to Vegas or something. People fly in there and you get to meet these people in real life and that kind of thing. Does that kind of thing happen with the Smule community?
Yes, that is huge in the Smule community. There's like Facebook groups dedicated to Smule meetups, and people, I've been to a meetup in LA and a meetup in Pittsburgh, and they're constantly going on around the world, which is really fun to get to meet people that you haven't met before. And that's honestly, Smule is how I met my current boyfriend, who is the reason I moved to Seattle. So if I would have never done the app, I would have never made that connection, as well as countless different friendships I now have from the app, which I talk to them on a daily. So they're people that would have never been in my life otherwise.
Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of shows you where technology has taken things.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Especially for someone like me that's kind of technology challenged to think about that an app is bringing so many different people together, not just you, but people around the world.
Yeah, it's definitely taken over the world, and I've loved to watch every step of the way, and seeing people get married from Smule, or I have friends, like one girl is in San Francisco, and her friend is in Tennessee, and they like fly to meet each other every couple months. It's just like really cool. Lifelong friends.
Wow. And that kind of brings up the question, the general question about social media in general, especially for artists. It's kind of like you have to use it in some capacity. Even for myself as a media outlet, I can't not do it.
Exactly.
If I wasn't doing this, I probably really wouldn't be on Instagram or Facebook.
We would have never met.
Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, how important is it as an artist to be using social media, and then also how do you tend to use it?
So I think it's very, very important as an artist to use social media if you really want to grow yourself, not just on a local scale, but on an international scale. I think social media has a lot of great connections that you can work with people, producers, mixers, masters, songwriters. Everyone around the world can just connect in one space, and it is what you make it. So I think everyone should be supporting each other, and it shouldn't be a competitive space, but everyone uses it differently. And it's hard to not compare yourself to other people, obviously, but I think it's great to have social media, and I use it in the way to connect with my fans. Like, I DM some of my fans more than I talk to my parents, which I just love to stay connected with people and know how their lives are, know how my music is influencing their life for the better, and just keeping up with those relationships. It's helped me grow, and people are always, it's really funny because people will message me, they'll be like, hey, I saw you in an ad for Smule, and I'll answer them back. They're like, whoa, you actually answered? I didn't think that was going to happen. And then we'll have a full conversation, and I think that just helps just make people seem more real. Like, not seem more real, but I feel like I'm more real and being able to share a part of myself with my fans that they may not have seen just through scrolling through a couple pictures.
No, it makes a lot of sense from the artists I've had a chance to meet that, and especially if someone's on any level of social media and they get back to somebody, or even if they just retweet something or what have you, the fact that that artist that you maybe look up to or have an interest in paid any attention to what you're doing as a fan or just a commenter or whatever you want to call it. It's such a huge difference nowadays because of technology than, again, back in my day when it's like that was just not possible.
No. It's a different ballpark.
Yeah, there was no internet, there was no anything. So unless you ran across them physically before a show or something, you're not going to be able to say, hey, I love your music and you did this for me, and then have them go, but oh yeah, that's great, thanks for the nice words or something.
Yeah.
No, it would just not happen.
I think what's really cool too is that I have fans all over the USA, so when I decide to do a tour around the country, I have people in different cities that are going to be interested in seeing me, as opposed to if I didn't have social media, trying to build that fan base and put so much money into marketing and just all the effort. It's not needed at this point. It's just I can go somewhere and be confident that I have people who would want to see me.
Very true. Yeah, that's a huge plus.
Yeah.
Having already kind of a built-in market before you ever get there.
Yeah, so true.
Okay. You were talking earlier about some of the songs that you're working on yourself, and they'll be coming up, in the next X amount of months. What are some of the topics that are kind of percolating in your brain? What are you writing about?
So I've been going through a lot. I moved obviously from Philadelphia area to Seattle, and I think that was really, really challenging on me. Just that complete 180 switch of a lifestyle and an environment. And I never think I went through those emotions. I think they've just been sitting inside of me, and I am so grateful to have songwriting now that is becoming more of a routine thing for me, where I can express those feelings and kind of get over that obstacle that was moving for me. So that's one, is my move and being away from family. Another is just dealing with everyday feelings of anxiety and depression, managing that and how that's made me feel stronger. Yeah, I think those are the biggest two topics in my life right now, so those are the biggest two things that I'm writing about at the moment. Okay.
And if you don't mind my asking, you already kind of mentioned about anxiety and depression.
Yeah, I'm very open about it, so ask away.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, so what are some of the things that you found for maybe people watching this that are going through similar concerns that have helped you manage it and in some ways even get past it?
Yeah. I think it's really, really important to have a good support system and surrounding yourself with people that you feel like you're comfortable just being yourself around, one, and two, expressing what you're going through. I'm very grateful to have my parents and my brothers and my boyfriend and really good friends who, when I'm in those moments, I can just text and be open. I think that's the biggest lesson for me I've learned, is just to be open about it, and I know that's not everyone's thing, like, trust me, I know that, but for me that's been very helpful to just get it out, because
Okay.
bottling things up is not going to get you anywhere. Also, I've been taking advantage of a lush green environment and going for walks, and getting my creative energy out, just doing things that make me happy, whether that be singing or I enjoy cooking, you know, just putting in headphones and chopping some veggies and making an awesome meal and sharing that with friends or my boyfriend. So things, just delving into hobbies and things that I enjoy to take away those moments of pain or stress or being overwhelmed.
Okay, all right. I think especially in the last 5 to 10 years, just as a society thing, that it's been much more about sharing and being open about the process, and then you kind of realize how many people are going through exactly what you're going through, but because it wasn't talked about, then you kind of think you're kind of isolated, like somehow it's just your concern, and you're like, well, no, it's that person and that person, and a lot of times it's people that you know that you didn't know were going through these things.
Seriously.
And then even in that kind of exposure just kind of helps you heal. Instead of figuring like you're just kind of on your own, you got to figure this out. It's like, no, there's there's a lot of people.
There's plenty of people out there going through similar experiences,
Yep.
and it's great to know you have the support and that army of people who know what it's like. Because not everyone does, but a lot of people do.
Yeah. I know for myself, from my side of things, that sometimes when I've written reviews and then sent them to the potential or the artist that I covered, that they don't know what's going on with me. They just figure I'm some photographer, writer, critic, whatever that's out there. And depending on the day, it may have been a really rough day, but I was still there. And then maybe that really made me feel a lot better after I was at their show. And then I'll put that into the review, and then I'll also put that into the email when I send it to them.
Yeah.
Just letting them know that your music or your performance had this impact on me, and you may not even realize it,
Yeah.
kind of a thing.
Oh, that's really cool.
So I think there's a lot of that where it's not just business, and it's not just one person does this and someone's on stage, someone's in the audience. It's like, no, there's so much else going on,
Yeah.
and you just never know exactly how you're reaching somebody.
And my life has been like a big word. If I could have one word on a t-shirt, it would be perspective, because I always try to empathize with other people and see what they're going through, because some people, they might love to get out and go to a show, and that might just fill up their energy, but some people, like, it was difficult for them to get out of bed and put their feet on the floor this morning, and having that perspective of like, there's so many silent warriors out there that we don't know about, and I don't know, I'm just proud of them for doing the things that they do.
That's awesome. So let's kind of wrap this up with a couple rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So you can just say
I'm
yes,
ready.
no, or pick one or the other.
Okay.
Coffee or tea?
Chocolate milk. Neither.
Okay. I'm kind of actually there with you, because I don't drink either.
No,
So.
I don't need caffeine. Caffeine makes my anxiety worse, so
Okay.
I'll stay away from that. But chocolate milk has a little caffeine, but I don't know. I'm a child at heart. I guess.
All right. Winter or summer?
Summer,
Okay.
for sure.
If you could travel anywhere right now, where would you go?
Hawaii. I need that sun. Seattle, bring more sun for me.
It's coming, but it's probably like 6 months
Yeah,
away.
I know.
Once we get past July 4th, that's the joke around here.
We'll celebrate.
What's one language you would like to learn?
Ooh, I dabbled a little bit of Spanish, but I really want to become fluent in Spanish because I love the culture, and I just love Spanish, so Spanish.
Okay. Do you have a favorite color?
Yellow.
Yellow.
Bright things.
Okay. And the last piece would be, what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who's just starting out their career in any part of the arts?
Find yourself first. It's all about yourself and finding your identity and what's your goal? Why are you doing this? And don't lose sight of that, because if you start doing it for the wrong reasons, you're not going to be happy with yourself.
Very, very wise advice. Well, Mariah, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Mark.
And,
This has been such a pleasure.
Awesome. So, I'm glad I finally got a chance to do this, and hopefully it's the start of others down the road. As more things progress with your career, we can kind of catch up and revisit and see where things are at. So.
Yeah, I would love to keep in touch and keep at this and keep following your work. I love Eclectic Arts.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark.